Hey, welcome back to the Shopfix channel. I hope everyone's having a great day. Today I want to go over a few tips that I've found are very useful on my miter saw, especially the Dewalt model. I hope you really enjoy this video and find great value in some of the tips I'm about to share with you. If you're new to the Shopfix channel, consider subscribing for future woodworking videos. For the love of woodworking. Alright, let's go ahead and check out tip number 1, which is building a miter saw stand. I actually placed my miter saw on a work cart with several different tools, which was better in my shop than a portable miter saw stand by Dewalt. If you're keeping in the shop, I would definitely recommend building a miter saw dust box, which is tip number 2. A miter saw dust box is essential for keeping your shop clean. Now, to combat the dust flying everywhere out of the dust box, you can hook up dust collection hoses inside the box, and that'll suck all the dust that would have been flown out of the dust box and keep it inside the box. So that's a huge benefit. Alright, our next tip utilizes the depth stop on the miter saw. And with the depth stop, you can actually cut dados with a miter saw rather than using a table saw. Now, to make this work and cut very accurately, I used a stop lock on the left side with a clamp, and then I also put a sacrificial piece on the back so that it will actually cut the groove nice and flat, because that blade, the bottom of the blade, is actually able to pass all the way through the board. Although I'm cutting very small dados in this example, with this tip, you can actually cut very large dados, even dados to do joinery techniques with 2x4s. But on this project, I just need those small grooves to insert shelves, and it works perfectly and it's super accurate, so that's something you might want to keep in mind. Many projects that I've worked on recently require me to cut out a lot of pieces the exact same length on the miter saw, and so I'm setting up stops a lot. So I wanted to show you the technique that I use to set up an accurate stop on the miter saw. The first step in setting an accurate stop is definitely making an accurate measurement on your board so that you can line up the blade to the cut prior to setting the stop. Now, I'm actually going to take this board and slowly work it into the cut so that I get an exact cut right on the line. Once I have that established, I want to make sure that piece doesn't move. And then I'm going to slide my stop, which can be a square, which I find very accurate. You can also use a piece of wood that you've previously made square. So you can use a variety of things for the actual stop, but just make sure that it's square. Once you have your stop block or square like I have snug against your board, you're going to want to gently clamp that to the miter saw fence or a wooden auxiliary fence like I have on the left. Once you've double checked the clamps tight, you can go ahead and proceed to make your first cut. Now, the reason that I wait to cut it out at the very last is because I know that as long as that square is tight, that first cut will be the exact same length as all the other cuts that I make on the stop, because I didn't cut it out prior to clamping it down. After that, you can cut any of the boards at your stop, and each one will be the exact same length. Now, by utilizing this technique to set an accurate stop, we can combine it with another tip to create really cool cuts. One such cut is the box miter. Now, a lot of people utilize their table saw for this, and some people have crosscut jigs and such on their table saw, and they'll tilt the blade to 45 degrees and cut it out. But here, utilizing that accurate stop, and then adjusting our miter saw to 45 degrees, we can cut out really accurate box miters. Since utilizing this technique to cut out box miters, I have found the technique very accurate. These specific pieces made up the case to a live edge wooden display case that I made with a plexiglass door front. Let's take a look at that technique again in a different example where I cut these various pieces out, not at 45 degrees, but actually at various different angles to cut out pieces for a bay window, table, and bench. One miter saw safety tip to keep in mind when working on these various techniques is that you always want to hold the board where it's wedged between the stop and the blade. The excess side you never want to hold because that side won't ever kick back at you, but the side that's wedged between the blade and the stop, sometimes if you're not holding that down, it will kick back at you. In this next tip, I want to show you how you can cut wider boards than your miter saw can cross-cut in one pass. First, line up the cut exactly where you want it, and then you're going to want to pull out that miter saw if it's a sliding one all the way out as far as you can, and then work that cut all the way back in as far as you can. Now, if you don't have a sliding miter saw, the amount that you're going to be able to cross-cut, the width, is going to be definitely less, but this technique can still come in handy. Now, after you got that first pass cut out, you're going to want to flip your board over to the other side so that the uncut side is closest to the miter saw fence. Now, you're going to want to put it on your miter saw, and then you're going to want to line up that cut so that you cut in the exact same curve. To accomplish this, the accuracy part, I actually plunge the miter saw into the curve that I previously made on the first pass, and then line it up perfectly so that the blade fits in the curve exactly in the middle. And then that way, you know that that board and that cut is going to be exactly on point. Once you have the cut all lined up and clamped down if needed be, you can go ahead and make your final cut. For this next tip, I want to show you the importance of utilizing the workpiece hold down. Now, with a small shop, I needed to save as much space as possible, so I couldn't extend the miter saw fence all the way out to the right because it would have taken too much room up for my shop. So if you're in that same predicament where you want to save space, you can just utilize the workpiece hold down because you can extend the piece all the way out to the right and have no problem cutting that out with perfect accuracy if you clamp down that workpiece hold down real tight. If you wanted to, you could even buy another workpiece hold down to attach on the left side because Dewalt makes it to where you can add different accessories onto the miter saw. By utilizing various techniques shown throughout this video, you can take live edge bark to create a picture frame. Not only can you cut live edge wood and bark on the miter saw, you can also cut plexiglass and acrylic. My one piece of advice here is definitely leave the paper on everywhere on the acrylic while you cut it to get a nice clean cut. I really hope you enjoyed these miter saw tips. If you have any questions about anything covered in this video, comment below and I'll be sure to respond. I've created Shopfix for the love of woodworking, so if you share that passion, consider subscribing today. Well, I better get back to the shop, but until next time, have fun with your Shopfix.